The photo sat on the mantel, framed in dark wood. In the picture, Daniel Harper was smiling, really smiling, with his wife Emma leaning close, her head tilted, eyes shining with happiness. Their daughter Sophie sat on Daniel's shoulders, laughing loud, holding onto his hair like she never wanted to let go. Behind them, the ocean stretched out, blue and calm under soft clouds. It looked perfect, the kind of picture you'd hang on the wall and think, this is what life is all about. But pictures don't tell the whole story. That frozen moment hid the cracks underneath, the slow, sneaky breaking that nobody saw coming. If you met Daniel back then, you'd see a man who had it all: a loving family, a good job, a life built on hard work and quiet hope. He carried himself with the kind of confidence that comes from feeling like you're winning at life. He was always the first to arrive at work and the last to leave. He was a loving husband who never forgot an anniversary or a little detail about Emma's day. He was a dad who never missed Sophie's school plays, who lifted her high and caught her when she jumped. To everyone else, Daniel Harper was a man who beat the odds. But no one told him how fast those odds could turn against you. It started with one drink. After a tough week of meetings and deadlines, Daniel poured himself a glass of whiskey in his home office. Just one glass, he told himself. A way to relax, to quiet the stress buzzing in his head. That glass felt like a lifeline, a moment of peace in the chaos. But that lifeline soon became a noose, tightening a little more every day. The second glass came quickly, then the third. Daniel told himself he was still the man everyone counted on, the husband who never missed Emma's smile, the dad who threw Sophie's birthday parties with love, the businessman who closed deals with sharp skill. But drinking started to take over every part of his day. The mornings blurred into nights. Meetings that used to be clear were now fuzzy. Emma noticed. She worried, but she said nothing, hoping he was still the man she married. Daniel's hold on control was slipping slowly, so slowly he barely saw it happening. No one did, until the cracks were too big to hide. Now, years later, Daniel sat alone in a dim bar. The low murmur of talking and clinking glasses felt far away. Inside, he felt empty. His hands shook as he held a glass that had less whiskey than the first time he ever poured one. His eyes, once sharp and full of life, looked tired, distant, haunted. He wasn't enjoying the drink. He was just holding on. The room blurred at the edges. Faces turned to shadows. He felt like a ghost watching a life that was no longer his. This was not the man in the photo. This was the man who had lost everything. And still, under the weight of despair, a tiny spark of hope was still there. Because every fall starts with a moment, a choice, a decision. And maybe, just maybe, it's not too late. Daniel Harper didn't come from money or privilege. He grew up in a small, old apartment in a neighborhood where the sidewalks cracked and streetlights blinked on and off like broken promises. His dad was a mechanic who worked long hours fixing old cars. The smell of oil stuck to his clothes, but his hands were steady and skilled. Daniel loved watching him bring broken things back to life. His mom was a teacher, quiet but strong. She believed school was the way out of hard times and worked every day to help kids dream bigger than their surroundings. From early on, Daniel learned what hard work meant. No shortcuts, no easy breaks, just sweat and grit and slow progress. He wasn't the loudest or fastest kid at school. He was quiet and watched more than he talked. His parents' lessons stayed with him. Keep your head down, work hard, don't expect anything free. College was a new world. He studied business and marketing, working late nights as a routine. That's where he met Emma, smart, warm, and always there for him. She was different from him in many ways. Spontaneous when he was careful, carefree when he was serious. But they balanced each other perfectly. After college, Daniel started his own small company from a tiny rented office. The early days were tough. He juggled clients, built campaigns, pitched nonstop, working long after others left. Emma helped too, taking odd jobs to help with bills, managing their small home, and later their growing family. 2 years later, their daughter Sophie was born, a burst of joy in Daniel's life. Her laughter filled the house, reminding him what really mattered. Even with success, Daniel felt pressure under the surface. Every year, the stakes were higher, more clients, bigger deals, endless deadlines. Alcohol came into his life as a way to escape. A glass of wine after a hard day, a whiskey to celebrate wins. But it didn't stay simple. Slowly, drinking went from a reward to a need, and Daniel barely noticed. Emma's worried looks got longer, her questions softer but more often. Daniel smiled and promised he was fine, because admitting the truth was too scary. The cracks in Daniel's life didn't start suddenly. They crept in slowly, so quietly that he hardly noticed until everything started falling apart. At first, it was just one drink after work to calm down. Just one. But one glass turned into 2, then 3. Daniel told himself he was still the husband who smiled for Emma every morning, the dad who threw Sophie's parties with love, the businessman who closed deals with confidence. But drinking started to fill every part of his day. Mornings turned into nights. Meetings that were once clear were now foggy. He hid a bottle in his office desk, the smell of alcohol sometimes lingering on his breath. Emma's worried looks turned into quiet questions. "Are you okay?" Daniel smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I'm fine, just stressed." Inside, he was falling apart. The big test came when Harper and Company was about to land its biggest client, Novacor, a fast-growing tech startup. Daniel worked for weeks, preparing every slide, rehearsing every word, dreaming about the deal that would change everything. But the night before, anxiety ate at him. Instead of resting, he drank whiskey. One drink became 2, then 3. At midnight, he sat alone in his office, heart racing, mind full of doubt. Morning came too fast. Head pounding, hands shaking. He forced himself into a suit and left the house. Emma was awake and watching, but he couldn't meet her eyes. He was already 20 minutes late at Novacor. His shirt was wrinkled, his tie loose. The faint smell of alcohol stuck to him. In the meeting room, the CEO gave a polite but tight smile. Daniel tried to push through the fog. He talked, answered questions, but his usual sharpness was gone. The deal fell apart. 3 days later, Daniel got the call. Novacor picked a competitor. The news hit him hard. That night, he came home late, stumbling over words, unable to look Emma in the eye. When he told her, he expected anger or tears. But Emma was quiet, her face full of pain deeper than any shouting. "This isn't just about losing a client," she said softly. "It's about you, the man you were, the man I married, the man Sophie needs." Her words filled the room with a silence too heavy to break. Days passed. One night, Daniel came home and saw a suitcase by the door. Sophie stood next to it, holding her favorite stuffed rabbit, scared and confused. Emma looked at Daniel, eyes full of quiet pain. "I have to protect her. I can't do that here, not while you're slipping away." The house that once held laughter was empty now. Daniel's world was falling apart, and he felt powerless. The house was too quiet. Rooms that once were full of life now felt empty and cold. Sophie's laughter, Emma's soft voice, even Daniel's own steps, all gone, swallowed by months of pain and neglect. Daniel barely recognized himself in the cracked bathroom mirror. His face was thin, dark circles under his eyes, worn out from sleepless nights. His rough hands trembled as he splashed cold water on his face, trying to wash away the man he had become. His body hurt, not just from years of drinking, but from the weight of loss and regret. He remembered the man in the photo, the one who held Sophie on his shoulders, laughed with Emma, and looked forward to a bright future. Now that future felt like a fading dream. After Emma and Sophie left, days blurred into nights filled with bottles and broken promises. His company fell apart. Calls went unanswered. Meetings missed. His business partner sent desperate texts. Please call me. We can fix this if you want. Don't give up. But Daniel was trapped, walls closing in. One cold night, after the bar closed, Daniel stumbled home, lost and hopeless. He slipped in the dark kitchen and fell hard on the cold tile. He lay there for hours, blood on the floor, tears on his face. In that broken moment, a terrifying truth hit him. If I don't change, I'll die here, alone and forgotten. The next morning, with shaking hands and pounding heart, Daniel called a rehab center. What came next was brutal. The first days were a battle. His body shook, sweat soaked his sheets, nausea tore through him. Sleep was gone, replaced by nightmares. Every hour was a fight, every breath a win. But through the pain, Daniel found hope. In group therapy, he heard stories like his own, stories of loss, failure, and slow recovery. One man said, "Alcohol takes everything, your family, your dreams, your pride, and leaves you with pain. But pain can teach you to fight." Those words lit a small fire inside Daniel. Maybe he could come back. Slowly, day by day, Daniel started to rebuild. Not a perfect life, but one worth living. Daniel's first step after rehab wasn't a big speech or grand plan. It was a shaky letter. Not a plea, not a promise. Just honesty about his fight. The fear, shame, and hope to find himself again. He sent it to Emma. Days passed. Silence. 2 weeks later, a small envelope came with her handwriting. Inside was a short note. "I'm glad you're still fighting." It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a crack in the wall, a small chance. Daniel began to rebuild. He woke early, ran until his lungs burned, the cold air clearing his mind. He called old clients, not to sell, but to say sorry and reconnect. Some ignored him. Some gave cautious second chances. A few came back. Months later, Daniel met Sophie in the park. She was taller, her hair longer. Her smile was bright. Just like the photo, they sat on swings, talking about school and friends. When Sophie asked if he'd come back next week, Daniel said with steady voice, "Yes." That night, sitting in his quiet home, Daniel listened to the rain on the window. The silence didn't feel like punishment anymore. He knew he could never undo the years lost of drinking, the missed stories, empty dinners, broken promises. But he could choose what to do now. The bottle took almost everything, his business, marriage, respect. But it also made him face the truth he'd run from. You can't fight for what matters until you fight for yourself. And that fight, Daniel knew, was worth fighting every day.